Hello, this is Pixie doing another video. Must admit, the portrait view of the camera, interesting because you can see the window above the car. It's quite unusual. It's like the phone's outside the car. It's on the bonnet or something. Yeah, so there might be some interesting thoughts today. Just thinking through stuff. So a little bit crypto, only a quick bit of crypto talk. I don't want to go too much. Well, kind of virtual reality is quite important. The digital world we've created, and what it means to us, and what we and how we're a part of it in some ways. So a lot of the things that we're creating in our society are based on our mental constructs, and society works to support that. So, you know, like there's control systems in place that you become adapted to understanding how they function. And, you know, but like if you see a red light, it's a universal signal now. So if you see a red light, it's a warning, so you sort of stop or have to engage that. But if you see a green light, it's encouraging you to continue forwards. And that's some of these kind of triggered behaviour. So it's a bit like with ambulances and the sort of flashing lights, or any sort of emergency vehicle, that kind of flashing in there is because it's installed like a program. So society has always worked towards becoming intelligent cities. So working towards smart cities, smart cars, smart finance, as we sort of talked about, and also it's a backup. So digital assets are growing assets, and that's why they've got value to them, because they can be implied to things. So the main thing when you've got things like blockchains is they tend to be the actual currency itself. And a currency, as it says, like a charge or energy, something that travels down that. And altcoins, well, they use the blockchain, but are in essence company type shares. So they have some fixed equity in relation to being a token. They've just turned it into a form of value, just like I say, as a token over something else. It's probably the easiest way to understand it. And so you can trade the tokens within the company's sphere or landscape or whatever it's going to be now. Its domain, basically, where it has dominion, and based on the value, whether it can cross-platform or be used elsewhere. And there's other things like digital assets that can't be duplicated because they're using encryption in the actual program, and so people can own the original, and you can loan these assets out, and all sorts of things are going on. So virtual space is becoming a virtual reality, which is becoming a cyberverse, whatever you want to call it. It's becoming a physical construction. It's a bit like our paper money and everything else has laws to back it up. Therefore, it makes it something that has responsibilities and a control system in place, and that's what's happening with this virtual reality and stuff like that. But on a bigger scale, what does it also mean to us? We've got a lot of our own internal landscape that we don't do. Things like in our minds, things like our dreams. Imagine if you could actually process your dream and it could be put into virtual reality. Can you imagine how much that would be worth? You could have had a really magical dream, and you could basically share that, or it could be processed, or even it could be sold. Someone could experience that dream. How insane that would be. And I've also talked about things like, if we're looking at sort of in the paranormal, or maybe it's in the metaverse for that kind of thinking, because we're kind of in this simulator. This is the Earth Point 1 simulation, I guess, and we have human society, which is point 2. You've got social media and other things which are an extension of this virtual domain. and our brains are becoming tuned to it. So you've got the endorphins I mentioned about. If you lose your phone, it feels like something missing inside you, because it's like an organ actually. That's what it is. It's like a mental construction. And I think the more integrated we become with technology, the more harder it is to separate ourselves from it. And it may be a point where somebody passes away, you may have like an avatar, or they might be put into like a sort of virtual graveyard, maybe like an archive in there, and so you could visit the memories of somebody, and there might be other ways to retrieve information out of the people's minds that might be sort of used to explore understanding. And imagine if you could upload that to your head. There's some issues potentially. You could upload someone else's personality into your mind, and you'd start generating a bit of a split personality, but you'd have to reinforce it with your consciousness. So you'd want it as a mechanism for dealing with a certain situation, and it would mean you'd have to sort of go into a sort of trance state and just let it take over a little bit. But it could be pretty crazy. I mean, you wouldn't want to put sleeper assassins or anything, that sort of stuff. But this digitalized link, and I've also mentioned about sometimes people have these paranormal experiences, and they could be like a glitch in themselves. They could be an external force involved, so it could be an entity. They could be just tuned into their brainwaves, so they could be elsewhere. They say that basically your brainwaves can go out into space. So you're not really limited. I mean, like a radio frequency, if you can tap into this person's mind, you can generate some like interference, or I mean, there's other things when people get together as a group. They act as a bit of a node. They sometimes share thoughts and stuff. So you all think down the same wavelength. I mean, it's all in the English language there. I'm on the same wavelength as you, because you're trying to tune into that frequency of thinking. A bit like loved ones, they're quite tuned into each other, and because it reinforces the dopamine and the addiction between each other, and so they sort of correlate their frequencies. And it might be going on in other parts of the body, not just the main sort of processor upstairs, but in the heart, feelings, instincts, other things that people pick up on, that people become more merged with. And it's also probably hard to unsync themselves if you're connected emotionally to somebody, but maybe mentally you bloody hate them because they've done something horrible to you, or done something, but you've got some attraction to them because you share something with them. And I think that might be the big expansion would be people looking inwards into their own mind. Have they got their safe space? Do they have their own domain in their own brain? Could you mentally transport yourself to a paradise that you've created in your own mind? Anyway, this is Trixie signing off.